Hi,
Hey there, Jim. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Very well. Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you as well. Thank you for joining me. And we have
No problem.
Jim Miller right here on the other line who was also diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, right?
Yeah, I certainly was. Pretty badly.
Yeah. When was that? When did that take place?
So, so I was properly diagnosed in 2010, but I'd had symptoms from way back to probably about 2000, and it kind of lay dormant. But it all kicked off in 2010, and things went south. Things went quite bloody.
Yeah, yeah, I got
Yeah.
you. And what was the delay on getting the diagnosis, or exactly how did that happen? Did someone push you into a colonoscopy room and say, "Don't come out until this is finished"?
Yeah, well, my wife did actually. Yeah.
Good for her.
She's a good woman. She's a good woman. Yeah, I chose well. But yeah, she pushed me into it. Had some serious symptoms like we all get, So, the blood in the toilet bowl and the cramps and the kind of fatigue, it all just hit me at once. And it took me a few weeks to kind of think beyond the fact I might have a hemorrhoid.
Gotcha,
Pretty
gotcha.
serious hemorrhoid. And yeah, so went in one in Christmas 2010, and yeah, I was told I had ulcerative colitis, and I didn't know what that was.
Wow. Well, Jim, thank you for joining this evening from your home. It's a pleasure to have you here, and it's great that for everyone who's watching at home, Jim is the recent author of an incredible ebook called King of the Porcelain Throne, and I thought it'd be a great opportunity to get online, get on the camera with you, and ask you a few questions. And I'm sure you'll have some interesting answers and allow people to get a feel for who you are and what you're
Yeah,
all about. So thank you again for joining.
no
And
problem.
I,
Pleasure.
I guess one of the questions that I have is because you have a really incredible story, and it was great being able to read that and learn from that myself. But could you maybe give a little bit of an overview of after diagnosis, where things went, what was easy, what was tough. How did that
Yeah.
go for you?
Well, yeah, it's a long story, but I'm going to keep it short. But diagnosed in 2010, and it things went badly pretty quickly, and I kind of refer to my 5 years, past 5 years, as a bit of a roller coaster for me.
Sure.
So I immediately went on to the normal drugs, all the normal stuff, but it didn't work. So the first drugs, the kind of soft stuff that we all go on, Asacol, I was taking, didn't work at all. So I was on steroids within months of, of having ulcerative colitis, and I essentially went into a 5 year flare.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Jim.
Ouch. So one day I'm fine, the next day I start flaring, and it didn't stop until, well, I'll give the big reveal, until my colon came out 5 years later. That's when
Gotcha.
it stopped. So kind of the potted history was that I flared and flared and flared. The steroids started taking their toll on me, making me quite ill. I mean, I'm quite thin now, you can tell.
Oh yeah, you're looking good. Looking good, Jim.
But I wasn't. I had a big moon face. Looked like the Stay Puffed Marshmallow
Nice.
Man, yeah,
Gotcha.
for quite a while. But it made me ill, and I got quite depressed actually about the whole thing. And what with the steroids, which are kind of can be mood changers,
Sure.
and with the depression of having an autoimmune condition with no cure, I became quite a difficult person to live with.
Mm.
My wife would agree with me on that, and I got two small children, and I wasn't particularly a fun dad. So yeah, everything went quite bad for me quite quickly, and I ended up trying all sorts of alternative treatments, and these are all in the book. So I tried all the supplements, and I tried the fecal transplants, and all manner of things to try and help myself. I
Sure.
tried diet, and a lot of it, I learned a lot from it. And some of these things kind of worked for me in some ways, and in other ways they didn't. But I learned a lot along the way.
Excellent. How
Yeah.
so in this 5-year crash course roller coaster learning experience of everything you see, did
Yeah.
you go from doctor to doctor to doctor, or were you with the same GI doctor, or how were you being treated? Who was
Yeah.
helping you out?
So I went through three of them. The first guy was pretty rough with me. Um, Kind of just told me the facts and said you're sick. That's
Yeah,
it. Used to it. And there's no kind of pastoral care here. There's no bedside manner. That was it.
sure.
So that was a shocker. But I sacked him pretty early on.
Yeah,
Found a new guy, but he left his post, and I was actually left, and I liked him. I think I annoyed him. I don't know what happened.
really. You drove him out of there.
I drove him out with my questions.
He was getting sick of your you know what. Okay, I got it.
Sick of looking at my colon.
Yeah,
So he left, but I felt quite bereft by that, because if you find a good doctor, you may have had this yourself. You can make quite a strong relationship because
sure.
there's not many people that get that close to your insides, really.
Exactly.
Quite
That's a good
personal.
thing.
Yeah, it is a good thing. But he left, and for a while I was left spinning, and then I was referred to a place called St Mark's Hospital in London, which is kind of an international centre of excellence. And they only deal in digestive diseases, and I encountered a great consultant, and she took me through all the medicines up to the point where she handed me over. She passed me over to a surgeon in the end, and we just
Gotcha.
said the only way they can deal with this guy is to wrestle that colon out of him.
Wow.
Yeah.
So incredible. Jim, when did you decide to write an ebook about this? When and why?
Right.
Because most
Well,
people don't do this. I've had a lot of people tell me that they're thinking about doing this or want to do this or will do this, but very few, and I think you are actually one of the only that have come through with something as incredible of what you made. But why do you do this?
yeah. Well, I'm a little bit weird on in that respect, but
Yeah,
she's fair enough. But what happened was because by background, I'm an analyst. Okay, so I've got one of those brains that's always working. So I researched UC over the 5 years, like a professional would. So
sure.
I went through all the stuff on PubMed, which I know you use yourself, and look at all the medical literature. So I investigated the disease. Anytime I was looking at an alternative like diet, like the SCD, or I was looking at fecal transplants, I did lots of research. So I found I had literally, and I'm talking literally piles of paper I'd printed
Wow.
out of research, and I'd found I'd kind of taught myself UC without kind of knowing it.
Sure.
Um, so what happened? The reason I decided to write the book was that when I was first diagnosed, I typed into Google, "I have ulcerative colitis," and I kind of got back a whole load of noise, which I couldn't really make sense of. And there weren't many use. There were some great websites, yours included, but there weren't
Thank you.
any weren't any kind of. I was after a book, a guide really written by someone with a
Sure.
disease that I could use as a kind of a manual. There was nothing there, so I started writing it when I was convalescing from having my colon removed, which is a big operation, and I had very little to do apart from sit around and check out the porcelain throne fairly
Yeah,
frequently. So I was literally writing the book, sitting on the can, and
that's
I
great.
decided I'd do it, and
Excellent.
yeah,
Well, congrats, and I'm sure that there's many who are very thankful for you taking the time to do that. So let's go back now to where you're at now with your life, and there's so many people that are either recently diagnosed, and I'm sure you've met or at least heard from quite a few of these folks that after that point it's a crazy time in their life. Same thing
yeah,
for their families, and they don't know what's going to happen the next hour, the next day. Sometimes it's hard to even fall asleep at night because you're not sure if you're going to wake up in the morning. And
mm,
where are you at now after having 5 years of
well,
absolute craziness and flares? How are
yeah.
things going? What's
I'm
the
in a
update?
I'm in a great place. So I've come through it all, and I'm happy, and I'm healthier than I've ever been. And that sounds crazy because I'm missing 5 feet of my internal organs. But I'm healthier than I've certainly been in 5 years. And to be honest, because I think I had ulcerative colitis for years, I'm far healthier than I've ever been. And to kind of give you,
That's great.
thank you, to kind of give you a feeling how bad it got. I got so ill that when I went in for surgery, um, my colon perforated in the theatre,
Wow.
in the on the operating table, and I was actually resuscitated twice. So I had more or less checked out.
Wow.
So ulcerative colitis kind of played its end game on me. And now, one thing to bear in mind though is that's very rare.
Sure.
What happened to me? It's super rare. It doesn't happen very often. And I just got, for whatever reason, I ended up with this variety of ulcerative colitis. But what it tells me is that I got it about as bad as you could get it. No drugs worked. I was flaring for 5 years. My colon stopped working. Um, but I came out of it. I'm smiling. I'm happy, and I'm living my life to to the full. So, kind of for anyone watching and reading my book, the message is, ulcerative colitis can be beaten in some ways, but it can be managed as well. Even if you don't go as far as having your colon removed, the disease can be managed, and you can live a good, happy life.
Excellent.
And that's my kind of message really to
Yeah.
people. You know.
Well, thank you for sharing, and I'm sure we'll be back in the same situation chatting again, hopefully soon, with some
Great.
more video footage for people to watch. And I really appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time tonight, and have yourself a great evening. And congrats to your wife for shoving you into the colonoscopy room.
Yeah, exactly. I
You
owe her.
tell her that now. I want you to tell her
I
that.
will. I
That
will. I
we're
will.
all real happy about that.
I owe her a 5-star holiday, I think, somewhere,
Uh,
vacation somewhere nice.
Definitely a long one.
All
Well,
right.
thanks again. Have a good evening, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Adam.
All right, take
Bye.
care. Bye bye.